Hello, it's Ryan with SaltLakeWeddingReviews.com. We're just recording another video today for each of our subscribers and brides. Now, wedding cakes can get really expensive, and some of you are planning a wedding on a really tight budget. So today's video is about do-it-yourself wedding cakes. I've heard lots of brides that are going to attempt to make their wedding cakes themselves. I guess always our personal recommendation is hire a professional if you have the money. If you don't, we have a few tips for you as you, attempt to make your wedding cake. Now, step one, it's going to be a lot easier if you have a blueprint. Do not attempt to make a wedding cake without having a picture of another wedding cake to look at or to go from. So find your favorite wedding cake, a picture of it online, and use that as your blueprint and try to make that exact cake. It's going to be a lot easier than going just from a picture that you have in your mind. Now, our second suggestion is keep it simple. The more complicated you get, the easier it's going to be to make mistakes. Now, most wedding cakes, traditional wedding cakes, have layers. Lots of wedding cakes have 4 or 5 layers. Our recommendation is if you're making your own wedding cake, go with 2 or 3 layers. It's going to be a lot easier to make and you'll have less chance of making mistakes. Keep the design simple. And also shape. We see wedding cakes in all shapes and sizes. Our recommendation is go for a round or a square cake. If you're making your cake on your own and you've never made one before, like I said before, it's going to be a lot more simple, a lot easier. Our next suggestion is to use non-edible decorations. Now, I have a picture of a cake here to use as an example. Now, this cake, everything is made out of frosting. As you can see, there's black ribbon made out of frosting that's separating each layer, and there's lots of flowers and designs made out of frosting. This is way complicated. This cake is very, very difficult to make. So to make your life a lot easier, you can use artificial flowers, you can use real roses, real flowers, you can use strands of pearls, you can use real ribbon instead of this black frosting ribbon that they've put around each layer. Real ribbon looks really nice. So anything you can think of that you can add to your cake that's non-edible will make your life so much easier. Making these things out of frosting is complicated and difficult. Your cake's going to look just as good replacing frosting flowers with real flowers. Our next recommendation is to use fondant frosting. Now, have you ever looked at wedding cakes and wondered how they are so smooth? When you frost a birthday cake, it's always choppy and it's hard to get smooth. This is because wedding cakes are made out of a different type of frosting called fondant. Now, fondant you can get from wedding specialty stores or you can order online. So watch some YouTube videos about how to work with fondant frosting, and it's going to be a lot easier to make your cake look nice. Now, one of the most complicated and most difficult things you're going to have to deal with as you make your wedding cake is to get your cake to hold its proper shape. This really can be difficult. So our suggestion, if you're new at this, if you've never done it before, use a styrofoam or fake wedding cake. Now, the frosting is going to be real, but the inside of the cake is going to be styrofoam. The picture of this wedding cake here is fondant frosting and artificial flowers and styrofoam as the inside of the cake. The cake looks beautiful. It's awesome on display, great decoration. Obviously, you're not going to be eating it, but you have a nice wedding cake there, and it's much, much easier to make. Now, our last suggestion is to use YouTube or other video sharing sites to get instruction on how to make your wedding cake. We've given you these suggestions, for example, using fondant frosting. There are YouTube videos on how to work with fondant. There are YouTube videos on all types of wedding cake suggestions. So best of luck to you. We hope your wedding is fantastic.